3 years ago at this restaurant, breakfast for two cost 150 lira, but today that's going to cost you almost 1,300 Turkish lira.
Prices are out of control in Turkey, both for locals, but even for tourists too.
A lunch like this will cost about 315 Turkish lira. That's almost $10.
2 years ago, my house rent was 3,000. Now it's 14,000.
Now it's very high.
90% of the people are just mad about it.
3 years ago, I was here in Istanbul, and things were extremely cheap for most tourists. But here's how those prices have changed.
One pomegranate juice, $2.
Today, that pomegranate juice is now $4.70.
Bottle of Coke, 50 cents.
$1.25.
10 Oreos, 65 cents.
$2.
Pasta, 30 cents.
75 cents.
A burger, $1.85.
Today, a burger at this exact same place will cost you $8.60.
Basically, a cup of coffee is $1.60.
Today, that same drink costs $3.90.
Combo doner chicken lunch, $2.80.
Today, that same meal will cost you $8.80.
Turkey's inflation just hit 75%, with the biggest annual price increases being housing at 93%, education at more than 100%, and cafes and restaurants at 93%.
But why is inflation so high here in Turkey, and what's going to happen next?
There are a few main reasons that its currency has become so insanely unstable. First were the historically low interest rates. See, when the US hit a 40-year high of inflation, the government raised interest rates. That made it harder and less attractive to borrow cash. And by doing this, you limit the supply and traditionally will slow down inflation. But under President Erdogan's influence, the central bank has frequently cut interest rates despite high inflation. He believes that lower interest rates will stimulate economic growth and reduce inflation. But that stance contradicts conventional economic theory. So this approach, combined with the central bank's governors getting fired multiple times, has led to a lack of confidence in its overall economy. And thus, inflation soared to over 80% in 2022, impacting everyone.
A lunch like this will cost about 315 Turkish lira. That's almost $10.
And watch how my US dollars gets me more Turkish lira than before.
$50 used to get you 175 Turkish lira. That was in 2019. Just a couple years later, in 2021, that would get you 375 Turkish lira. Now fast forward to today, that's going to get you more than 1,600 Turkish lira. So it sounds like if you visit here as a tourist, you're going to be rich because you're going to be able to convert so much more money than you used to. But that's not the case at all.
Because prices are rising even faster than inflation, that's why the prices here, even for tourists, are way more than just a couple years ago. But imagine trying to run a business when your costs are going crazy.
We are taking cheese now. Today, 100 lira. After 1 month, it's like 3,000 lira. That much. It's even more than 100% inflation every month. Because of this, unfortunately, we have to change also price.
I use euro, and when I change this in Turkish lira, it's very much for me, but when I buy something, I say it's too much. It's very hard for the people.
While salaries are of course going up, they're not going up nearly as fast as the prices.
When they have not so much money, they earn 15 or 16,000 lira. We buy only a water. They have buy something 100 lira. It's too much. Everything is very, very high.
The Turkish lira has lost a huge amount of value against major currencies, and this depreciation increases the costs of imports, which feeds into higher overall price levels. Meanwhile, there's been a major loss of investor confidence, political and economic instability combined with unconventional policies that have also weakened the lira. You can think of it like a stock. Without people investing, the value goes down.
How is this all impacting everyday people? A lot of people are complaining about rent and housing, and if you think about it, that is the biggest expense anyone has.
The inflation for the people live here very strong and very heavy. People, they start to keep money less because they don't trust the currency. They start to spend more.
One thing that's pretty interesting, a lot of Turks have told me, is that they're saving less. They're just saving less, and I see this happen in a lot of other countries like Argentina or Lebanon, where because when your money is losing so much value in some cases every day, you don't want to put it in a bank. You don't want to put it under your mattress. You just want to go and spend it right away and enjoy life a little bit more. Because if you save it, the value is going to go down, you're losing it, and that's just not a smart use of how to store your assets.
This is very difficult for the governments because the people in Turkey live in two parallel worlds.
Because food prices are so crazy for most locals, the government in Istanbul is opening subsidized restaurants. These eateries, which opened in 2022 during a severe inflation crisis, offer meals at around $1.25, which is a lot cheaper than typical market prices. In fact, the government covers about 2/3 of the cost. Each of these places serves about 1,000 meals a day, but many complain that the food runs out or that people who are well off are eating there, and that people that are truly struggling don't have the opportunity to actually take advantage of them because the meals run out. Despite efforts by the president's government to control inflation, demand for these affordable meals remains high, prompting plans to open an additional 24 outlets. A few months ago, Turkey raised its interest rates to 50%. That's a crazy high amount, but it's giving hope that inflation will finally slow. And this is coming at an essential time as people become fed up. See, Turkey is heavily reliant on imports for its energy needs, including crude oil and natural gas. And as the lira depreciates, the cost of these imports has been rising, which of course is contributing to significant inflation. And rising global commodity prices, especially for energy and food, have also contributed. Meanwhile, supply chain disruptions and geopolitical tensions have also increased these prices.
But to understand how Turkey got here, we have to understand its monetary policy.
Government spending and fiscal policies haven't always aligned with inflation control, sometimes exasperating demand pull inflation. And attempts to control prices and wages have had little success and sometimes unintended consequences, like reduced supply of controlled goods. But recently, Turkey's central bank has shifted its stance and actually raised interest rates to combat the inflation. But will these moves actually restore the central bank's credibility and balance economic growth? Another thing I've noticed is this. See, because people don't trust their own currency, Turkey has become among the top countries globally in cryptocurrency adoption, with about 16% of its population owning or using cryptocurrencies. In fact, data from Turkish crypto exchanges like BTC Turk and Paribu showed a significant increase in trading volumes during periods of high inflation. For example, BTC Turk reported a rise in daily trading volumes to over $1 billion during the peak inflation periods in 2022. The Turkish lira lost around 44% of its value against US dollar in 2021, and that prompted many Turks to seek refuge in cryptocurrencies. While the Turkish government banned the use of cryptocurrency payments in April 2021, they didn't actually ban trading or holding cryptocurrencies, which allowed the market to continue to grow. So what's next? Well, many Turks are leaving the country or trying to leave the country to go to places with more stable economies, but this is causing a massive brain drain.
There's like a huge demand for going outside of Turkey and to live in there, but there's also a visa problem for everyone who is trying. It was getting worse, but so far it's getting better right now.
The Turkish central bank forecasted inflation to go down to 38% by the end of the year, but given the current pace of inflation, the year-end rate may be slightly higher, and there might be an extended pause in interest rate adjustments. Economists are divided on whether the central bank will cut interest rates by the end of this year or wait until 2025.
In Turkey, we hope things are going to get better. It doesn't look like it, but we sure hope so.
Let me know in the comments, what do you think needs to be done to fix this inflation crisis? While you're at it, make sure you follow this channel so you don't miss the next one.